Live. I'm going to click the blue go live button. Click. And we're live. It is Tuesday, October 19th, 2021, 5:01 p.m. And I have a story to tell you related to the iconic view that you are now seeing over Jordan Ellenberg's shoulders, the essence of Wisconsin, proto OG Wisconsin view, the Union Terrace or whatever it's called. The other day, I was scrolling Twitter and I came upon what is now my new favorite Twitter feed, at Terrible Maps. And the at Terrible Maps Twitter feed is approximately as dear to my heart as the old Spurious Correlations website used to be, until Spurious Correlations hung up his Zeus and went to law school and became a lawyer. That's a true story, by the way. But the spirit of Spurious Correlations left his body and entered whoever it is who produces the Terrible Maps page on Twitter. And at Terrible Maps had, I think, a very important map the other day, which I call upon you to look up if you haven't. It was a map of the legality of owning a kangaroo in the United States. And
wait, we don't have to, they don't have to, well, hold on, I'll just show it.
Yeah, we can actually bring up the map. And the green states, and there are only 3 of them here, you can actually own a kangaroo in the United States without a permit, whereas most states you'll see are red, and that includes the District of Columbia. You can't own a kangaroo even with a permit. Note that in New York, where Kate is, it's a no kangaroo state.
Fascist.
Yeah. But in Wisconsin, you can own a kangaroo without a permit. And I just want to say there are constitutional rights at issue here. I mean, there are, you have your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. This is a kangaroo. You can own a kangaroo in Wisconsin with no
kangaroo
permit.
Arms.
That's right.
For kangaroo
punching.
Arms.
Yeah. And so
sorry, I had to do that.
I thought of immediately when I saw this, the only 2 in lieu of fun guests we have had on the show who are from Wisconsin. Those are Charlie Sykes and Jordan Ellenberg, and I immediately pointed out to them that they have the right to unrestricted kangaroo ownership.
See, that is not what I thought of when I saw that. You know who I thought of, one of the in lieu of fun guests when I saw that map?
Mm-hmm.
Mike Chase. Just because I feel like Mike Chase makes it his business to know bizarre, antiquated laws that are not enforced. Or
that's true.
Right?
Although it's not,
I know
this one's not a criminal statute.
It's not criminal, and it's state by state. It's not federal. So I get it, but that's where my mind went. But anyways, all that being said,
I immediately flagged this for Jordan, who did what any red-blooded American would do. He notified me that he was going out to buy a kangaroo because he could, and he even told me that was why he had moved to Wisconsin in the first place. So, Jordan Ellenberg, we are not allowed to have fun anymore. And unlike you, we are not allowed to have kangaroos, at least not without a permit. When did you decide to buy a kangaroo?
I pity the fool who can't have a kangaroo. I just want to start with that.
I think
And
that's a great line.
I'm sorry for the connectivity problems. There are, as you can imagine, almost everyone here has a kangaroo, and so I think that the routers inside campus are often kicked by people's kangaroos who are allowed to roam off leash inside the student union. And so, if I depart again, just know that the router has been the subject of a vicious kangaroo kick. Will you remind me what's the other state, Ben? There was 2 states on
West
the terrible
Virginia.
map, right? You said it last night.
West Virginia
and South Carolina, 3 states that you can have. But the thing is, if you are in West Virginia, you have to be represented by Joe Manchin. And if you're in South Carolina, you have to be represented by Lindsey Graham. Whereas in Wisconsin, you can be represented by, Ron Johnson. So that's better.
I wanted
Ron Johnson, who doesn't know that Social Security is inflation adjusted.
Right.
Oh my God. I was actually thinking today, Jordan agreed to come on 45 minutes ago, something like that.
How many people did you try to get before you wrote me 45 minutes before your podcast
actually not many.
Not many.
But
we just belatedly put the show together today.
But I was gonna say that basically I coincidentally, with this weird fixation that Ben has on kangaroos today, I was discussing the possibility of getting emu if John and I someday move outside of New York City. And I was trying to figure out how to get emu. And John was saying that they're not good for anything, but they're kind of like llamas. Did you know that they guard things? Llamas are excellent garters of sheep and goats, and emu are excellent garters of, and they also have these giant blue eggs that are approximately 10 eggs, worth 10 chicken eggs worth of eggs. So that's 500, and they lay about 50 of them a year. So it's 500 eggs. So that actually seems like good value. I think I need an emu.
I've never tried to steal anything from an emu, so I guess I did not know this factoid about them being good guards of things. I wouldn't.
Well, I after my recent research into the cassowary, which is kind of like an emu on meth, that has sharp. Oh my God, they are so terrifying. Somebody sent me one as a prospective beast of the day. It has a knife claw. One of its talons is sharpened into a dagger, and it can stab you to death with its foot. It's the scariest bird in the world.
I'm just laughing because while I think in this Zoom era, when you say that somebody sent you one, you meant that somebody emailed you a picture of one, but I like to imagine that just a big cardboard box appeared at your door and someone had sent you a cassowary.
It's stalked out.
You opened it. Fragile! And then it's just oh my God.
Well, check out the, there was a cassowary stabbing to death of somebody in Georgia not too long ago. The newspaper stories about which are genuinely upsetting. Just ran him through.
Have you guys? So sorry.
Well, look, if we're going to talk about
weird animals, that's just going to be what we're going to talk about. Did you guys see the thing about the 90 or something rattlesnakes that were cleared out from under the person's house?
They were the beast of the day the other day.
Oh, they were? Yeah, that was kind of gross.
I didn't see it, but I thought we were going to talk about, if we're going to talk about charismatic megafauna and their relation with political economy, I thought we were going to talk about the hundreds of capybaras that have invaded the upscale neighborhood of Buenos Aires.
Yes.
In some kind
I think we should.
Don't I have a capybara yet? Why? Where's the fucking map to see if I can have a capybara? We can make this about politics. Do you remember when Rudy Giuliani went after ferrets? Does anyone remember this?
I don't remember that, but you mean as pets?
Yeah, he banned them in New York, and people went apeshit. Very
if you've seen the footage of the capybaras, it's hard to imagine it's not actually viral marketing for sort of some kind of like gently satirical Argentine political movie.
So for those who do not know this story,
reverse gentrification.
I just want to say, if we are talking capybaras with Jordan, I have to disclose that when I was probably 13, I first learned that the capybara was the world's largest rodent from one Jordan Ellenberg, then probably 11, who read it somewhere and found it important to come tell me this. And ever since then, he and I have had a joke that the capybara is actually only the second largest rodent in the world, because Jordan himself is the largest rodent in the world. And why this joke has remained funny these 40 years, I really can't tell you. But
well, we can all agree that it has remained as funny as it was at the start.
Yes. I think it's because I can imagine 11-year-old Ben and 11-year-old Jordan having this conversation and then laughing hilariously
Ben's
at it and
older
looking
than me.
back
I'm
on
young.
it. It's pretty cute.
Don't say I'm as old as Ben. I'm not nearly as old as Ben.
Yeah, that's right. Jordan is 2 years younger than I am, almost to the day. But I will say that I do remember a particularly witty Jordan Ellenbergism from our early teen years that, again, I cannot imagine why we both found so funny at the time, when Jordan announced that he was now 6 feet tall, which was 1.5 feet longer than the pathetic capybara that was second in the
my
rodent.
God. Why isn't that your Twitter profile, Jordan? Exactly 1.5 capybaras, long. That's all you have to, that should just be your, measure things in capybaras. You could write a whole children's book about this. I
think what this has shown, and what I want just to make clear to everyone, is that when it comes to capybara enthusiasm, you guys are getting here, but I've been here. I just want to lay down that.
All right. So what happened in Argentina?
Yeah, what did happen with the capybara?
So there was a genteel suburban neighborhood of Buenos Aires,
a gated
community, I think, but the gates were no match for the enterprising capybara. Capybara.
Sure.
Who just sort of came in and found, there's nothing nicer to graze on, I'm told, than a beautifully jewel-like manicured lawn of a well-fed Argentine. And that is exactly what the capybaras are doing. And they're just kind of, they don't have, I don't think they have predators who live in the city limits of Buenos Aires. And somehow it's sort of a beautiful symbol of the fact that you can only manicure your life so much. Nature is always there, ready to sort of appear and start eating.
So how many capybaras have invaded this neighborhood? The pictures are amazing.
I'm gonna find this picture and then I'm gonna share it.
I mean, it's hard to know. It's hard to know because of course the pictures are chosen for high capybara density. It's when they sort of show you some riot and it's one trash can that's sort of smoldering and they sort of shoot it so that it looks like the whole city is aflame. So I mean, I'm sure that they shoot the maximally capybaric.
But it sure looks like a lot of capybaras.
It's hundreds, right? I would say hundreds based on.
Right. Well, it's as Trump would say, it's the most capybaras that have ever gathered in a gated community.
I mean, yeah, this is, okay, hold on. I'm finding these pictures. I'm seeing them. There's someone's alarm is going off. I think it's John. Wow, I'm not seeing hundreds of them. I'm just seeing a couple hanging out.
There's capybara video here for those. Let's hang on. As soon as the ad is done, I will share it. Okay, here we go.
But something I think is true for sure, at least it's true in the Midwest, and I wonder if it's true for you guys, is that because of the reduction of traffic caused by the pandemic, there are just more mammals around, every kind in populated areas. Oh, are we seeing the capybaras? Let's watch the video first. Let's go to the videotape.
Ben, your dogs are really loud. I think they're your dogs.
Right?
So cute. How do I get one? I don't understand. Why can't I have one of these? This is amazing.
I think if you lived in Wisconsin, you could have one without a permit.
I think that's right. That's the best argument besides cheese that I've ever heard for Wisconsin, and Jordan Ellenberg that I've heard for Wisconsin.
I have not. Do we know for a fact that I could have a capybara?
No.
No, I just made that up.
Okay,
I will say, however, that one cool thing about capybaras that we did not know when we were teenagers is that the capybara is unusual in that it will raise the young of virtually any mammal. And so in zoos, when they have orphaned animals, they just give them to the capybaras.
Wait, so you're saying if I had a capybara, not only would it be cute and impress the neighbors, but it would like take care of my kids for me? What's the downside?
Your kids are past nursing age, Jordan.
No, I'm saying it's an opportunity missed. That's what I'm saying. Had I had a capybara like 15 years ago.
Oh my God. I will say that like this reminds me. Did I ever tell you, Ben, have I told this story on the show about like the pigs and tiger costume story?
Well, yes, but probably not since most people on it have been on. So try again.
Are we drinking already? I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it's non-alcoholic, so
okay.
It's not very exciting. It's not bad. All of these new like fangled like non-alcoholic beers are like quite excellent. So when my first job out of college was at ABC News, and I was an associate producer for the website. It was kind of a great job. And it was 2006, 2007. It was like proto, like kind of news blog days. And at some point, the vice president of all of ABC News, who will go unnamed, he was one of the vice presidents, sends this chain email that has been like, remember how people used to have like chain emails, like, and they'd forward them and forward them and forward them. And they sent this chain email around.
Do you not have a dad?
What?
No, do you not have a dad?
I literally filter him. Like there's like I don't get those emails anymore. But basically he like one of the emails that had gone around was this fake news, and this is like people just don't remember this about misinformation. It was an email that was supposedly a story of a zoo in San Francisco that had a tiger like mother had lost all of her cubs, and so she had stopped eating and was so sad, and like they needed her to like and like to like want to live, and so they dressed up a bunch of baby piglets in tiny little tiger costumes and put them with this tiger mother. And like instead of eating the piglets, like this tiger had nursed all of these baby piglets with her tiger milk, and like this whole thing. And the vice president, one of the vice presidents of like ABC News, sends this to like my producer and my boss in charge of me, and says, "This is excellent. We should do something on this." And my producer turns to me and goes, "Kate, make a slideshow." And she's like, slideshows are like the thing, like, right? Because like you make these stupid captions and you get all these clicks. And this was like before there was a fancy word for it, like called surveillance capitalism. But anyways, and I go, I don't think I can get the rights to these photos, and I don't think this story is real. And then sure enough, I like Snopes it. They still had Snopes in like 2006. And it's like actually a zoo that like it's like all the photos are from a zoo in Thailand that like specializes in weird cohabitation of animals that should hate each other and like want to eat each other and like raising them together. And so I report this back to my producer, and my producer goes, I don't care. Like, make the slideshow. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be the one that gets fired. I mean, maybe I got left shortly thereafter, but it was like one of these amazing stories of like, I mean, in retrospect, looking back, she probably wanted me to be like, there's an email hoax going around, and this is the cute way to look at it. Like, isn't this fun? And I was just like, we can't get rights to these photos. Like, this legally, we can't do this. This is insane. But this was like, I mean, I actually wish more people had that kind of story as background.
Wait, so Kate, are you telling me that all along this famous Amy Chua book about the tiger mother, that actually the reason it was so hard for her children to learn to play the piano was that they were actually tiny piglets that she had been fooled into thinking were human beings?
She's actually at a zoo in Thailand. She's actually at a zoo in Thailand and not at all at Yale. Like, it's just, that is like...
Actually, Yale is kind of like a zoo in Thailand. We can say that now because Scott's not here and Mateo won't get too offended. So I have a serious question for you, Jordan, which is how long before that beautiful weather in Wisconsin that you're experiencing now becomes like the uninhabitable, disgusting winter of the far north?
Can I just show you guys the fucking beautiful terrace? I'm just going to move away and show you guys what every day. Here, let's look at the scene. Look at the scene. Everybody's kind of hanging out.
This is so lovely.
I'm sort of moving my laptop around, so it's hard to. It basically today is this is the time of year when it could be low 70s and gorgeous as it is right now today, and I think it's going to be sort of 50 and rainy tomorrow, and it'll sort of oscillate like that sort of throughout, but we don't know. Sometimes it snows on Halloween. Part of the joy of it, Ben, is that you just don't know, and you sit out on the lake while you can and nuzzle your pet kangaroo and drink beer, and because you just never any day
the pet kangaroo can carry beers for you in its pet pouch.
And then tomorrow we're buried in snow, eating the roasted flanks of our kangaroo for warmth.
Yeah, like the capybara is just like on a spit next to you over the fire. No, we don't eat capybaras. They're too like.
Oh, by the way, people do eat capybara.
I know they do. That's why I made the joke.
Yeah, I think.
Fighting with Ron Johnson for the last piece of kangaroo as we struggles for survival in the frozen wasteland. Back, Ron, back!
That's right. All right.
Strike him with the kangaroo femur.
We are going to start bringing in audience members for questions. I just warn you, the questions have to be framed in terms of kangaroos or capybaras. You can ask whatever you want, but...
Didn't Wisconsin have a very reasonable congressperson or senator at one point? Was it Russ Feingold, like a Wisconsin senator? Am I making that up?
No, you're not making it up.
That was real. That really happened.
That seems like a very long time ago.
Fellow Madison Blue Russ Feingold.
Richard Wattenbarger, the floor is yours. What is your capybara or pet kangaroo question today?
My pet kangaroo. So how are kangaroos with number theory? How are they with? How do kangaroos do with number theory? Are they? Can they kick some real like prime number ass or something?
That is a great question. I would say we do talk a lot about like hopping from prime number to prime number. That is like a term of art in our field. So I guess they could be useful for that. I'm trying to do something with pouch. I got nothing.
Well, so I have a similar question though. I remember So I was a math undergrad, and I remember struggling for hours and hours to get 3-line proofs in a number 3 course, and it was like I was having an existential crisis. And I tentatively I traced it back to something having to do with having been raised by capybaras, but I'm not sure what that was. How that was. I was wondering if you'd ever had any experiences like that, and if and how did capybaras play into this?
I mean, obviously, what's great about doing math for a living is that you just have like existential crises every day. That's just the nature of the thing, and then which I think can be soothed by rubbing some large furry creature that's in your lap, which could be a capybara, or it could be a kangaroo, or it could be any number of the sort of charismatic, mega, and completely Wisconsin legal fauna that we have available to us here.
I love all of this. I also love like your quick like nomenclature around how to like describe the animals that we're talking about as charismatic megafauna, which I like to think that it would have taken me like, if I was like, that seems like the capacity of like a New Yorker editor or something.
No, it's a phrase.
To like kind of like
it's an actual phrase.
I wish I made it up.
But the charismatic megafauna are all extinct.
No, I think like a harp seal is a charismatic. The idea is this: in environmental circles, they're like, what's really important is that the plankton are okay. If the plankton are not okay, we're all fucked. But you can't get people to give money to save the plankton. You can only get money for people to give money to save the whales that eat the plankton. So charismatic megafauna is sort of a term of art in environmental circles where you're like, what are the animals so cute that people will actually open up their checkbooks?
I don't think that's what charismatic megafauna means.
Yes, it is. No, he's right. I looked it up.
That's what I thought.
I thought charismatic megafauna were like the Ice Age giant mammals that all went extinct.
No, you're actually like Jordan is correct.
Who's right?
Jordan's correct. Examples include charismatic megafauna. This is according to Wikipedia, which is basically God. Are animal species that are large of the relevant category they represented with symbolic value or widespread popular appeal, and are often used in environmental activists to gain public support for environmental goals, including Bengal tigers, African lions, blue whales, humpback whales, giant pandas, bald eagles, California condors, harp seals, and penguins, among countless others.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I was completely wrong. I always thought it was like the giant ground sloth.
Yeah, the harp seal.
No, those are. No, I mean, yeah. It's not.
It clearly would be charismatic megafauna were they still around to be used in fundraising.
I think the giant ground sloth is one of the great all-time beasts, and
blue-footed booby.
I like the blue-footed booby.
And the dodo bird.
Oh, that one's dead.
Yeah, but that's why it's not a charismatic megafauna.
You should call it the once charismatic giant ground.
Yeah, the formerly charismatic. Charismatic while still with us. Christopher Argyris, you and your midriff have the floor.
You stole
Hi, Jordan. So I think you can tell my question is coming up.
Screen.
When the new president of Northwestern from Chancellor of UW was announced last week, you tweeted, Chancellor Blank has been a great leader for UW-Madison through complicated times, and I just plain like her. I wish her all the best of luck at the second best school north of Chicago. So that was a great tweet. I just returned from the second best school north of Chicago for the weekend. I just would like to get some insight. I don't know, that's not coming from me. I just like to get some insight into what she's like as a university leader and as a person that you like so well.
Jordan, are you there?
But I can't hear.
You can't hear?
He asked basically like what you like about
Jordan, refresh your screen. Let's do this. Let's bring him back in.
Okay. That's fine.
Well, Christopher Argyris once again broke in lieu of fun. Can you hear now, Jordan Ellenberg?
Okay, there's a sequence of very loud. Yes, there's a sequence of very loud sounds that happens in the terrace every afternoon, which is the nuclear power plant cooling and then the foghorn. And I forgot that was going to happen. Sorry.
All right.
But I think now it's done.
So Chris Argyris asked basically that that the chancellor of UW is leaving to go to Northwestern, and he was wondering if you had any thoughts about her as a leader or a person.
Yeah, first of all, UW is the one in Seattle, and we're UW. Always important to keep in mind.
Oh, sorry. That was my mistake, not Chris's mistake. Yeah. I shortened. Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
You know, like, I'm not very good. I'm not good at these things. Like Michigan and Michigan's, like, I never knew that Michigan, it was always Michigan State, and that they never said CIT. They say Caltech. Like, never say CIT.
True. That is true. But
I didn't know that when I was in college and applying to schools. And so I looked like an idiot when I applied to Caltech and said CIT in my application like 10 times.
Wouldn't it be great if Becky Blank walked by the terrace right now and I could put her on, but she probably won't. But yes, I have nothing but good things to say about her, and I think she'll be great for Northwestern. I mean, I will say this, she has shown, to my mind, an incredible deftness, not deafness, in navigating, running a gigantic institution filled with pain in the ass faculty members such as myself, while also sort of dealing with the state legislature and the responsibilities of essentially managing a public trust. That has not been easy, and there has been a lot of very narrow channels that she's had to navigate this place through. And it's in a very healthy place right now. It's growing very fast. Want to hear something controversial? This year, for the first time ever, and I think people don't really know this, kids from Wisconsin are a minority of our freshman class. That has never happened before at the University of Wisconsin, and it's a pretty interesting shift in what we're doing. And that's been, I think, largely brought about by Chancellor Blank. We have the same number of Wisconsin.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I'd say it's a good thing. You'll hear different views, but we have the same number of Wisconsin students we've always had. We've just enlarged. We've just brought in more students from out of state than we had before. So we're not doing less of the thing that it's our state mission to do, but we're doing more of other stuff. So at Northwestern, the particular skills she has of being able to work with a legislature, which is very specialized, and I hope to hell we can find someone else who can do it, that she won't need to do at Northwestern. But in just the other ways of like running a big, gigantic machine, Northwestern isn't quite as gigantic as here, but it's still a sizable school. I think she'll be great. I have a lot of faith in her.
Cool. That's great.
Daniel, just as the question we were gonna open it up, you popped up on screen, so you get the next question.
So I have a completely non-serious question, which is, if you had to guesstimate, how many illegally owned kangaroos are in the United States?
How would you do it without knowing anything about other than what's on that map about state law or kangaroo ownership interests on the part of Americans? How would you go about it?
This is like the jelly bean question, like how many jelly beans are in the jar.
Except there's no jar.
But there's kangaroos, and it's like roughly grouped by state. But some states allow them.
I think 1,000, just based on my theory that America is a very big country and there's 1,000 of anything, no matter how weird it is. There's probably 1,000 of it.
What do you?
How would you estimate it, Kate?
I would actually kind of do it by like, I think there's probably a lot fewer than that. I think I would estimate it by guessing how many illegally owned tiger or legally or illegally owned exotics like tigers or lions there are, and those are probably an order of magnitude more attractive to people to have than kangaroos. So I would say there's probably a dozen.
So I would guess that there is many more than 1,000. And the reason I would guess that is that just as there are, cat people who fill whole houses with cats, there is somebody who, by him or herself,
special about this or something,
owns 1,000. It's like 3 people together own 10,000 kangaroos. And I just think that's, like, I don't know which state they're in, but I think that's just very likely. And so I would guess that there's...
wrong, but I think Ben's more wrong.
I think there's going to be 10,000 illegally owned kangaroos.
There is an atlas obscura about this.
Has a 3,000 strong illegal herd, guys. You're going to see some more scenery because I have to move to a place where I can get a plug because my laptop's running low on battery. So
okay, so meanwhile, Kate, tell us about the Atlas Obscura article about America's secret kangaroo problem.
It turns out that apparently there are errant kangaroos in Indiana and Oklahoma, and there's like populations of them, and there's a small breeding colony. But no, I think that I'm right. I think that it's it's actually a phantom philosophy. There are no like actual kangaroos that exist in the wild in the US, and it doesn't seem like there's a secret population of them privately owned. I think I'm closer to right than you guys are. There's apparently a thing called a phantom kangaroo though.
What's a phantom kangaroo?
It's like literally it's like kind of a Bigfoot thing where they see prints of kangaroos' feet, and they, in places where there's no native population, but they see kangaroo prints somewhere. It sounds, wow. This is like, there's like a whole thing about this. Phantom kangaroos. Who the hell knew this? Weird.
This is why we do in lieu of fun, to make ourselves Google such important questions
right now. So I
okay.
So
Jordan, how much of that did you hear?
Something about the America's national kangaroo.
That's
problem.
Correct. Yeah.
That's all I heard. I was focused on getting power and
John Hawkins. The point is, I'm right. There are tens of thousands of feral kangaroos hopping all over Indiana. John Hawkinson, the floor is yours.
Well,
Kate, having proved me right.
For Jordan, I want to bring this back to capybaras because they're really what's important here, and it's important to correct a misconception that's been explained on the show. It turns out that capybaras are legal in New York State, but not in New York City. And so the question is really, what, Jordan, do you think we should do to put pressure on the parents' clinic to house a capybara for Kate's temporary use or occasional use, in New York State? Or what other mechanism can we have for Kate to get a capybara that's not illicit? Like maybe Genevieve could house it for her? I don't know.
What do you think, Jordan?
I guess I just think like, at last, a use for Long Island. I'm very excited about this. Like it's like convenient to the city, and you can have a capybara.
I'm like, they are very. I'm like, I'm not wedded. I can leave New York City to have a capybara. Like,
does a capybara
would
count as a charismatic megafauna?
Yes, it's increasingly. It's really not endangered in any way. So I would
think so.
Mateo Caraba, the floor belongs to you and your bunk bed.
Thanks, Ben. Here, real quick, not related to my question at all, but I've been looking into kangaroo and wallaby food, and it looks like there's a factory in the United States that produces it, which suggests that there's sufficient volume of kangaroos here to make that an economical decision. So,
although we were talking about only the illegal kangaroos.
So then we'll have to track down the zoo's purchases, and then I don't know.
Well, and then the entire state of Wisconsin.
And the state of Wisconsin.
All right.
All right.
How have we sustained this for 40 minutes? I don't even understand. I'm like very impressed with that.
Still going
better
strong.
Question is how it's been sustained for 532 hours.
Sick burn, Mateo.
I've been here for 200 of them, so it's a burn on me. So my question is for Jordan. What's your favorite open problem or closed problem or proof? Just generally, math-wise, preferably. But
one of my favorites is the Kakea problem. Maybe I've been thinking about it this week. We all have our problems that we probably will never solve, but every year or so you come back to them and think about them quite fervently. And the nature of this problem, and we won't go into the details, but if you have some region in space which contains a short line segment in every direction, how big does that region have to be? I mean, if you have like a sphere or something, that clearly contains like a line segment in every direction, but you can do it with regions that are much, much smaller than that. And the question is, how small? How can you efficiently layer those line segments in all those different directions on top of each other? It's a very, very fiendishly difficult problem, which I've just this week fooled myself into once again thinking I have an idea about, which probably won't work like all my other ideas, but I'll probably never stop coming back to it. I'll tell you.
Is it for 3D space in particular, or
what?
Is it for 3D space in particular, or is it
space
for,
it's known in two-dimensional space? In 2 dimensions, it's known, and the question is for all higher dimensional spaces.
All right.
Do you have thoughts on this, Mateo? Got any ideas for Jordan?
I have a 3-hour drive, and I'm going to be imagining versions of this and getting just interested in it. But I'm 10 years of school away from being able to give Jordan advice.
Somebody a postdoc in England just solved the p-adic Kakea problem, which is a version of this problem, and I'm very excited about understanding the new ideas in this guy's proof. So that's the latest development. That's why
version. What would that look like?
You got, if someone wants to search for p-adic Kakea conjecture, there will be a link to this new preprint by Arosovsky, and they can post it. It's like a 6-page paper. It's great. I tried to prove this like for 10 years, and this guy proved it in 6 pages. Very impressive.
And so, where does the word Kakea come from? Is it like a reference to a coconut?
No, it's a guy.
Oh, it's a person.
Well,
I thought it might be a kind of kangaroo or something.
I don't even know how to spell it.
It probably is also. I mean, it's also the name of my kangaroo. I thought that was clear.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's
just checking.
Here,
so I have a question for you, Mateo. Do you think the magnets work in space?
Is this a trick question? That magnets,
why wouldn't they?
These kind of magnets? Do I think that they work in space? Probably, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Is this like a setup for a joke?
No, I just woke up the other day and had a dream that magnets suddenly didn't work in space for reasons that no one could understand. And so I woke up and made sure that they could still work in space. And so
that's good because we wouldn't want to keep sending magnets up into space if they weren't going to work.
What would happen badly if they didn't work in space? Would stuff start falling out?
No, in my dream, a lot of power, there were anyways. It was a nonsensical dream, but in any event, it was a very weird. I was just gonna see if it was it struck me as I woke up and I was like, man, what's going on?
Lisa had, according to the chat, had a dream that I was writing a cookbook. So I guess I should write a cookbook.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. I have to say one of the greatest intellectual experiences of my life was taking physics in college, where they teach you that magnetism has to exist. If you know how electricity works, and if you believe in relativity, then there has to be magnetism. That was amazing that you can just derive that there must be such a thing. That blew my mind. I just thought I would share that.
So I have a very important question for you, Jordan, which is, would you enjoy writing an advice column?
I do enjoy giving advice in real life, but I wonder if that suggests that I would or would not enjoy writing an advice column. I don't know. Boy, I have thought about a lot of different things, but that is one I have never devoted even a second of thought.
That's why I'm asking, because it's good to hit somebody with a question that like they would have never thought about before.
I feel like he would
probably yes. Probably yes.
I think you'd enjoy writing.
I think the answer to this question for any form of writing is like, could I put jokes in it? And if the answer is yes, then I would probably like doing it. And for advice column, the answer is clearly yes. If you ask me would I like writing legislation, then like for that same reason, probably no.
That's a good rule.
Is there funny legislation?
I've been thinking about writing an advice column.
You would say is humorous.
I've been thinking about writing an advice column ever since somebody suggested it on the show, and I'm just interested in whether other people are interested in writing advice columns. Okay, we have Michael Mann and a previously non-introduced to the In Lieu of Fun audience, Canine. So let's say hello. I also saw another person in the background.
Oh yeah, my partner's working next to me. Oh, my dog was on. That's June. She just sits with me on the couch, licks me.
Excellent.
Yeah, I hear the thump, 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 thump of a tail. Sorry.
What's on your mind?
So when I went earlier this year, I went back to see my grandparents in West Virginia, and their neighbor had a wallaby in their front yard. So I was curious, do you think wallabies would be a good starter pet for kangaroos since they're much smaller?
Do you know if they...
Where do they live? Send me their address.
Do you know if they have the same licensing requirements as kangaroos in the United States? Or can you get in under the... Like if you're in D.C. and you don't have a kangaroo license, can you sort of slip through the wallaby loophole?
What if there's it's like a housing association? That would
be a great opportunity to say the phrase, "It's a wallaby, officer." I would love to be able to say that.
Maybe it's like the dog, the pet size limits on apartments they have in in New York. Like you have to have a dog under 25 pounds or something to live in a certain type of co-op. It's like that for a housing association in West Virginia.
The Wallaby Loophole, by the way, is a very good name for a band.
Yeah, a very good band name. Oh my God!
So, what do you think, Jordan?
All their songs would be 25 minutes long. There's no question.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is the wallaby the gateway marsupial?
No, the gateway marsupial.
I mean, I think you would. I think if you wanted to start with a marsupial, you would trap a possum, right? There's loads of possums around here.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that guy who had his possum taken away?
No.
That was. I keep saying these things, and people think do magnets work in space? And did you hear about the guy who had his possum taken away? And then you both.
Kate, I'm coming away from this feeling like that Kate is on a much better internet than the rest of us are on.
No, there. I'm gonna cheer up. That I'm laughing so hard. No, there was this. This actually, he's a gay bucking bronco rodeo star, but he also rescues animals in his spare time. But he doesn't have a wildlife rehabilitator license, and he had a gluten intolerant, diabetic, possum that he had rescued and fed this special diet and took special care of, that was half blind and half deaf, and he had a whole Instagram set up for it. And then I think it was in Arkansas or Alabama or something, and they came and they took it away from him and euthanized it. It was very sad.
That is sad.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you all that.
Are we going to do a whole policy show on whether there should be licensing requirements for wildlife rehabilitation?
Oh, I would love that.
We should have an administrative burdens guy on and talk about that.
The Gateway marsupials, by the way, are opening at Wolf Trap this week for the wallaby loophole.
Wolf Trap. I feel like they would stay away from Wolf Trap.
I don't know. They're Australian marsupials. What do they know from wolves? All right. On a serious note, Jordan. So for those of you who don't know this about Jordan, among other things that he has expertise in, he's spent a fair bit of time thinking about redistricting, being both a mathematician and a Wisconsinite. So we should ask, how bad is it going to be? Or is Wisconsin already so gerrymandered that there really isn't much more work that the legislature can do this year?
I do have a talking point about this. Actually, I wasn't thinking I was going to say, but let me bring it up. I think that there's been a huge amount of attention to the redistricting process and gerrymandering this cycle, much more than what there was and should have been in 2010, which is great. But almost everything I read is about the House of Representatives, and I think that's taking your eye off the ball a little bit. I mean, I think, first of all, representative districts are bigger. So, in Wisconsin, probably the issue is, are there going to be two, it's really a difference between whether it's going to be like 6-2 or 5-3. There's not really a way for there to be a lot of competitive districts in Wisconsin at the federal level. What's more, different states have legislatures run by different parties, and so there's some amount of canceling, gerrymander as they might. There's sort of some argument that that it'll at least partially cancel out. The state legislative districts are being much less talked about, and that I think is where the real action is, because there you have the direct feedback. The legislators are voting on their own districts. So in Wisconsin, and even more so in the states with undivided government, one party is drawing the entire map to its own benefit, which is not ever going to be true for the House of Representatives. And so it's all magnified there. And I think, look, for people who are concerned about sort of undercutting the basic rules, state legislatures are where it's going to happen. It's not going to happen in Congress. So I would ask the people who are not gerrymandering think a lot more about these state legislative lines, which in Wisconsin are gerrymandered much, much worse than our congressional district lines. Now, what's going to happen here, it's over my pay grade. Maybe you guys can explain it to me. There's a huge battle about, it's clearly going to go to court because we have a Democratic governor or a Republican legislature. There's a huge battle over what court is going to take it, whether it's going to be in state or federal, who's allowed to intervene. It's the math I understand, the law I do not. So it's not at all clear to me how this is going to be resolved.
I can explain the law to you. The law is pretty simple, actually, which is that the Supreme Court said a couple years ago that partisan redistricting, as distinct from racial gerrymanders, do not present a justiciable question in federal court. So that leaves the question of whether state constitutional provisions might. And that will vary a fair bit from state to state. So, for example, in North Carolina and Pennsylvania...
This part I know, Ben. The question is, what happens if the legislature passes a map and the governor vetoes it? I think the legislature... on its own.
Jordan, you are breaking up like a congressional district in Wisconsin. Not to mention a dismembered wallaby.
Sorry.
Oh, Ben!
Sorry.
Like, no one wants to imagine that.
Sorry. I don't hear what I didn't hear what you came back at. What the procedures are for redistricting and what the specific role courts will play in them varies a lot from state to state. My impression in Wisconsin is that the legislature has the final say, partly because it has a veto-proof majority in one party, right?
It doesn't.
Yeah, so I don't know the answer to the question of what Wisconsin's specific allocation of powers when when the governor and the legislature disagree. I think they leave it to their pet
traditionally it's been that a
kangaroos
federal
to fight.
court draws the map.
Did you guys both make a kangaroo joke at the same time?
I don't know what Jordan did because he keeps
didn't.
breaking up.
Was yours a wallaby
Sorry.
joke? Anyway.
I had to move farther from the Wi-Fi to get my electricity.
I'm so happy that you joined us today. This was so fun.
Yeah, I think we're gonna close it out. Jordan Ellenberg, you're a great American, a great kangaroo owning enthusiast. Please tweet pictures of your kangaroo herd, and we will all pretend to take it seriously. We will be back tomorrow. Kate, who's joining us tomorrow?
Nicholson Price is going to be back.
Winner of the one, the only, in lieu of fun, bow tie tying competition against a head of state. He crushed. Tomas still has not recovered from the defeat.
I know, he just stopped coming to In Lieu of Fun, actually.
We're going to actually have him back tomorrow for a rematch.
That'll be great. And,
Not since then wrestled Vladimir Putin as a head of state been humiliated so thoroughly.
Well, Putin won't show up, but Tomas, to his credit, showed up for this and, took his loss like the champion that he is. Nicholson Price will join us tomorrow. That'll be 23 hours and 3 minutes from now. And until then, Kate?
Wow.
We don't have fun anymore. But we do have Halloween herds of phantom kangaroos in Wisconsin. Are those kangaroos behind you? I thought so.
Enjoy, everyone.
They are. They're the kangaroos and the wallabies of Wisconsin.
Yes.
See you tomorrow, guys.
You can just see